thank both of you having agreed to be a part of this program. And I also thank each and every one of you who spared their time on a Sunday evening. I would request the comments and question answers to be kept brief as usual. So let's dive into the topic. In this evening's topic, I will also cover an important part of Nifty's performance. Is it as good or as bad as people think it to be? The Nifty's performance. So that is the second part of my talk. So now the major topic is, will Indian bulls lead the US bulls? It has been generally assumed that India and US markets are in sync. We believe that whichever way US markets go, Indian markets will go. Let us try to analyze whether there is any truth to it by looking at a few examples of the past. Now, in 2007-9 is one major example we can look at because that was the global financial crisis and all of us were affected, all the countries were affected in some manner or other. In 2007, in March, the subprime problem came into being. At that point of time, most of us didn't know what subprime is, including the Fed chief Bernanke, who thought it was only affecting a small part of the market. So initially, that was how it was, and the global markets ignored it. But not for long. By August 2007, the US markets had started selling off. Other international markets followed the US. We too were down. The US Fed panicked in 2007 September and cut rates by 50 basis points. Generally, they had risen rates, the rise in rates was about 25 basis or drop was 25 basis. It's the first time, after a long time, they cut the rates by 50 basis points. Immediately, globally, the markets went up. However, US went up only for about 3 weeks. So by October first week, US was down. So were other global markets. Indian markets continued to go up. For the next 4 months, we went up. At that point of time, most people, analysts, strategists, investors believed that Indian market is decoupled because US markets had peaked out in October. We were very strong in October, November, December. Around January, around Pongal is when we started cracking. So that was the first time, which among these 10, 12 years, where we noticed that Indian markets, the Indian bulls, led the US equity bulls. US equity bulls had given up by October of 2007. Now, India was really not directly affected by the subprime, yet we overreacted. While Dow Jones and US markets fell about 54%, we fell about 65%. We really had no such problem. We had no Lehman Brothers, which US markets had in 2008. We fell more, we fell swiftly, and we bottomed out somewhere in the last week of October 2008 at Nifty of 2250. However, despite Warren Buffett saying that he wrote an op-ed in New York Times asking people not to bet against the US, he said he's buying stocks. Fed started its QE during that time. The new incumbent President Obama said everything is okay with the economy. Yet the US markets kept going down. The US markets actually bottomed out in March 2009. We already had a head start of nearly about 4 months. So Indian bulls actually led the equity bulls of the US and globally too. The Nifty and Sensex Nifty bottomed out somewhere in October. So that was the first major instance where the Nifty bulls were ahead in 2007, early 2008. We dropped sharply. We were the first to bottom out and then we took off. So that was the first one. The second one was in 2010-11 when Nifty again came back to the same levels of what we saw in January 2008, which was around 6,300 Nifty. On around Deepavali time, we had the topping out, or November, I suppose. And then we had a bear market till December 2011. That bear market went to close to 30%. 29% was what it bottomed out a year later. But US topped out. US did not follow the Indian markets. The US market continued to be strong till May 2011 and bottomed out in October 2011, much earlier than us. So here the US markets topped out later and bottomed out earlier, exactly opposite of what happened in 2007-8. The third instance is in 2015, where Indian markets topped out in March 2015 and bottomed out only in February 2016. That was about a 25% drop over a period of 12 months. Whereas US markets, they topped out later than us. We topped out in March, they topped out in May 2015, and they actually started making a triple bottom since 2015 August 2015, January 2016, and February 2016. They made triple bottoms. So US bear market was also about 21% drop, but it was a very short-lived bear market, whereas our bear market was a very long bear market. So the bears attacked US market, Indian market much earlier than US, and we almost, coincidentally bottomed out with the US, though US had actually bottomed out in August 2015. So here it was a case where the US bulls, Indian bulls actually followed the US bulls, or both of them joined together to start a new bull market beginning February 2016. Now you take February 2020. This is the fourth instance. In February 2020, many people mistakenly believe that we started falling off the cliff from March 2020. Actually, if you look at the numbers, nothing like that happened. The Bank Nifty actually topped out in December 2019, on 30th December 2019, well before Corona became a problem, we had topped out. So that was the Bank Nifty. Nifty topped out 10 days before the budget. On January 20th, Nifty topped out. The Dow Jones topped out on 10th of February. So that was 20 days after we topped out. And Nasdaq and S&P topped out on 18th February. That is another week later after Dow topped out. So there was a series of tops beginning December 30th when Bank Nifty topped out, January 20th when Nifty topped out, Dow Jones topping out in 10th February, and S&P and Nasdaq topping out in 18th February. So there was a gap. It was never on a particular day or even in a particular week. It was across months. December for BN, January for Nifty, February was where the US markets topped out. Now, therefore, if you look at what is the current scenario, now Nifty topped out in October 2021, 19th October at 18,604. Bank Nifty topped out a week later. S&P and Dow topped out in January 2022. That was about 3 months later. Nasdaq, of course, topped out a month later in November 2021. So we are seeing that there is no such coincidental topping out of US markets and Indian markets. We have a lead lag. Sometimes we lead, sometimes we lag. So in this case, we have had a lag of about 2.5 months. Now in this current scenario, if you look at the Bank Nifty, the FMCG index, the auto index, they seem to have bottomed out in March 2022 because they have not had a further bottom either in May when Nifty had a fresh bottom, neither did they have it in mid of June when Nifty made a fresh bottom. So neither Bank Nifty nor FMCG nor auto has had any such drops below the March levels. Whereas US markets has dropped somewhat similar to Nifty. It dropped out and hopefully bottomed out in June 2007 on June 17th. Now, if you look at it internationally, the DAX also seems to have bottomed out in the early part of March, like Bank Nifty and the other sectoral indices. Hong Kong has bottomed out in March. Nikkei also has bottomed out in March. So if you make an analysis over the years, it's clear at first glance, we may see we are in sync, but not always in magnitude and time. Sometimes we are early, sometimes we are late. Magnitude, sometimes many a time, we are much more than what US markets do. So this is what I would like to convey, that we need not go exactly the US way. We have gone different in the past. We have followed sometimes the global markets, the non-US markets. Sometimes we are not followed. neither in magnitude nor in time. So many a time when we believe that we will exactly match US on a day-to-day basis, probably we only match on the first hour basis. Other than that, we have our own paths. Of course, one can never say that we can completely be decoupled because that I have not seen. I have not seen that at least from 2008. So we will be coupled to that extent, but there could be different time frames. Now, the second part I would like to start on is this Dow Jones has fallen 20%, S&P has fallen 24%, Nasdaq has fallen 35%, but we have fallen only 18%. So most people believe that we should go at least 20% because Dow Jones has done that, Nasdaq has done that, S&P has done that. Now, I don't know from where this 20% has come. 20% is an arbitrary number in my opinion. However, let's assume that is a number which we all have to look at it because that's what most people look at. And then they say that 20% is a bear market. So let's assume that 20% we will take it as gospel truth. Now, if you look at that, some of the people have also looked at the Dow Jones recent bottom and said that Dow Jones recent bottom is equal to the high of March 2020. So if you look at a high of March 2020 in Nifty, it's about 12,000. So people, analysts expect that when Dow Jones has gone to 12,000 equivalent, 12,400 equivalent, we should also go to 12,400. So there are some people who even expect it to go to 7,500 because that is what we saw in March 2020. So now we have people, the most bullish of the bears expect 14,800. The moderate bears expect 12,450 and the bearish bears expect 7,500. Now, I have been repeatedly saying index per se makes no sense to most investors because the investment is in stocks. The discussion is on index. However, for people who are trading in index, it may make sense to find out or discuss where we are going on the index. Now let's look at it. So if you ask the bulls would say that the Nifty is the strongest index among global indices because it has fallen less. Now somebody else would say, because the bears would say, Nifty has fallen only 17-18%, but it's time to fall. It will come now in the next few weeks to months. You can have the argument both ways. Now let's just dissect what is this Nifty. Nifty is, as all of you know, consists of 50 stocks. So I did an analysis of the 52-week high and the subsequent 52-week low, not the range. So I didn't take the 52-week low and 52-week high. I took after it is hitting 52-week high, what is the low it has achieved in the last 52 weeks. So there is a huge difference, right? So we first go to the high and then look at the subsequent low. Now let me tell you some very interesting facts have come about. Some very interesting things which I didn't expect. So I thought I should share that with you people here. Of the 50 stocks, there are only 3 stocks, Sun Pharma, Power Grid and Bharti, which have not fallen 20%. Only 3. 47 stocks have fallen at least 20% from the highs. That means that is 94% of Nifty stocks are already seen a bear market, if you define bear market as 20%. Now, if you look at numbers, now between 20 and 25, 7 stocks have fallen between 20 and 25%. 14 stocks have fallen between 25 and 29%. 21 stocks have fallen between 30 and 40%. 8 stocks have fallen between 40 and 50%. There is one stock, Hindalco, which has fallen more than 50%. So if you look at it, really speaking, 60% of Nifty stocks have fallen 30% or more, which means if you take 18,600 as the peak, which we saw in October, then the equivalent would be 13,000. So 60% of the stocks have already reached the 13,000 equivalent. And 20% of the stocks have reached 11,000. It's already reached 11,000. 97% of the stocks, that's 94% of the stocks have already reached 14,800, which the bullish bears believe is a bottom. So we have already gone through 14,800 for most of the stocks, that is 94%. In case of 60% of the stocks, which is 30 stocks, we've already gone to 13,000. And if you talk of 25%, then 80% of the stocks, that 40 stocks, are reached 14,000. So if you see, look at it, we've already reached the depths of any strong bear market should be. So therefore, if you are just going by only the top line, the Nifty would say that we have not gone into bear market. The bulls will be hopeful that, and they would say that we are very strong. The bears would expect that it will go down further. But in reality, we have gone through a crunching bear market in stocks. It is just that this time it's very different. The different stocks have made different bottoms, have made their bottoms at different points of time. That's the only reason why the Nifty seems to have been relatively strong. Actually, the components of Nifty have gone through a crunching bear market. So now, having seen all this and having compared with what globally we have been seeing and looking at all the bad news, all I can say is, with my limited knowledge and experience, that we are in all likelihood having seen the worst of the market drops. Of course, Nifty can still go down. Bank Nifty, incidentally, recently did not go below that. It almost made a double bottom. So my belief is that the downside is limited. Of course, I was a little early when I decided that the enough is enough, and I cut all my short positions around May 12th and then started buying on all declines. Of course, people may say you should have sold it when it went up to, say, 16,800. I'm a macro guy. I don't look at, first of all, I don't look at Nifty to make decisions on buying my stocks, because though they may be index stocks, they need not necessarily go in the way of Nifty. The classic case I keep telling is about ITC. ITC, when Nifty was 5,300 in September 2013, ITC was around 240. And it was 240 when Nifty, it was 200 and odd when Nifty was 18,600. If you include the dividends, probably it is coming to 250 or 60. So there was 9 years, there was no movement. Like that, there may be many scripts which may move faster or which may move slower. My job as a macro guy is to look at those stocks which I believe have got very limited downside. So based on my analysis and based on the bad news which we know, I strongly believe that we, if not the bottom, we are scraping the bottom somewhere. And whatever little experience tells me that never look for the perfect bottom, because that you will never be able to catch. So I am comfortable in taking a reasonably bullish stance. And now, what can be the upside target? I'm not good at fixing targets. I won't be surprised if things get better and better as the week goes by. And by Deepavali, we should have a very good number on the Nifty. More importantly, for me as an investor, I would like to see whether my stocks will do well. I believe my stocks will do well in the next couple of years. By Deepavali, it should be better. By Pongal, it should be much better. Now, I'm not able to see any bad news on the horizon which is new. Already we have discounted all which is available. I am not able to see anything which is new. So therefore, I am content to think that we are in a sweet spot with the sentiment being very bearish. The prices, the FII numbers still being bearish. But there are so many green shoots available, which makes me feel that one should be bullish rather than bearish. Not cautiously bullish, actually bullish. Some of them are cautiously bullish. I am not. I have thrown caution to the winds, and I would like to say I'm unequivocally bullish based on my little understanding of the market and experience. So thank you for listening to me. We completed much earlier than what I thought. And I request Vinay, who is my co-host, to take over. I will answer any questions directed to me. I would also recommend that people keep their questions, short, and maybe a couple of questions, and even discussions not more than 2 minutes, because we need to give time to everybody. I'm hoping to complete this by 11:30 latest. maybe I'm shooting for 10:30 to 11, not 11:30, sorry, 10:30. Let's hope. Yeah, Durgesh, can you mute yourself?
Sir, okay. Sir.
No. Kindly mute yourself, please. Yeah. So I will. Vinay, kindly mute this gentleman.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So therefore, I would request you. I mean, in this forum, we always give chance to everybody, even if those thoughts are contrary to what I'm saying. So I would love to listen to your questions and your points of view. Once again, thank you for coming. Vinay, kindly take over.
Sure. Mr. Srujan, please, you can start.
Give me 15 minutes time, so I will join back.
Right, Mr. Srujan. Mr. Vinayak. Mr. Vinayak, please. Is not available. Taking a more speaker. Mr. Trading D-Wave. Sir, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you, Vinay. I'm sure others also must be able to hear.
I'm not getting any response. I thought maybe I got disconnected. Okay, Mr. Trading D-Wave.
Yeah, it's good. If there are no questions, then we can close at 9:45 itself. I'll be very happy to close at 9:45. I did whatever I had to do.
But I don't know, they're not responding after making them the speakers. Let me just again check. Mr. Durgesh, are you there?
सर मेरा थोड़ा सा कैन यू हिंदी ठीक है चलेगा ना?
हाँ चलेगा सर.
हाँ सर हिंदी में ठीक है सर. बोलिए सर हिंदी में.
सर मेरा मानना है कि जैसे रिलायंस में जो व्यू निगेटिव का बना है, एक दिन में 7% टूटा है और सडनली तो फॉल नहीं होगा, लेकिन ऐसा मेरे को लग रहा है जितना मेरी समझ है कि 2150 2180 का एक छोटा सा सपोर्ट है और अगर ये टूटेगा तो 1700 1800 का मेरा भी यानी 1800 के आसपास का मेरे को लग रहा है कि आ ही जाएगा. तो इस पे अगर मान लो ये टूटता है तो निफ्टी कहाँ तक नीचे जा सकती है?
सर अगर टूटेगा तो डेफिनेटली निफ्टी नीचे जा सकता है, मगर क्या है, सी दिस इफ एंड बट में क्या होता है सर कि वी डोंट नो. फॉर इंस्टेंस ऑन फ्राइडे Reliance fell down 8%. Almost it got downward circuit. But yet the Nifty overall did not fall. So I do not know if Nifty will really go down significantly from here, even if Reliance cracks. So I am not able to answer a hypothetical question at this point of time. I will review it as and when it happens. And as I keep saying, by and large, your Nifty should not be our greatest concern. Though if you are trading in Nifty, it should be our greatest concern. So I think there could be HDFC Bank, for instance. Today they have got permission from the stock exchanges. That could probably be leading. So FMCG may lead. So many other stocks are there, which are shown on Friday. So I don't have an idea, sir. Let's review it because I have no clue on that.
सैनिक सर एक चीज जस्ट आई वांटेड टू ऐड. आई एम श्योर सब रिलायंस देख के थोड़ा घबराए होंगे फ्राइडे को. एक चीज डेटा पॉइंट देना था. November 2nd of 2020 Reliance had fallen about 8.5% on a particular day. It closed at 8.5%, but in that month Bank Nifty and the other sectors took over while Reliance remained sideways for the next month, but Nifty and Bank Nifty closed quite sharply higher in those months. Just I wanted to put this point. That's it. If people are not aware of that, that's all. Nothing.
One more question. और सर एक रेंज बता सकते हैं क्या निफ्टी का नेक्स्ट वीक को थोड़ा सा?
So Durgesh bhai, I am not really very good at these kind of things because my track record is between 50 and 60%, which means I make mistakes minimum 40%. I try to survive by making mistakes only 50% of the time. मेरा इतना ही मानना है कि the way the market behaved on Friday makes me feel we may cross 16,000 sometime during this week. How much more I don't know, but because you're asking me, I'm saying. Otherwise, I really don't have a target. But it won't surprise me if we cross 16,000, 16,200 by the end of this week, provided we don't have any other bad news.
Okay. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Durgesh. Next, Mr. Neeraj.
Yeah. Hi, sir. Good evening.
Yeah.
Yes.
Good evening, Neeraj.
Yes, sir. So currently, you are saying that you are micro bearish on index front for not like no long term bearish. So can we consider this for Bank Nifty 32,100 as a support for long term?
Sir, I don't know, maybe my English is not that good or I'm not able to convey properly. I said I'm unequivocally bullish. I didn't say micro bearish at all. I said the bears may be looking at those numbers. I am not bearish. I have been bullish since May 12th, around 15,700. I'm looking forward to higher numbers. I'm fully invested. Based on my thinking, a lot of my friends have put in money. So there is no chance of me being even little bit of bearish at this point of time. So for me, higher numbers are there. So sorry for my English may not be that good or I may not be able to express it properly. But I am telling you that I am completely bullish. There is no doubt in my mind.
Thank you, sir, for clear.
Fine. Next, Mr. Dharmesh, please.
गुड इवनिंग
Good evening, sir.
Good evening,
सर
Dharmesh.
मेरा क्वेश्चन है आई हैव अ क्वेश्चन व्हाट यू फील अबाउट द सुगर इंडस्ट्री नंबर 1 पॉइंट नंबर सेकंड पॉइंट टुडे JP Morgan has given a article that crude oil may touch $380 if the Ukraine war will continue and number 3 point is that inflation and the micro and macro economy look good to you at this stage due to the inflation. People don't have the money to invest in the stock market, so their redemption will not hit the market. Thank you.
Yeah, first on the sugar industry, sir. If you look at sugar has fallen commodity in the commodity index globally. It's fallen about 60%. So I don't know how much it will fall from here. Maybe it will stabilize at these levels. So first of all, I am not a great follower of sugar industry because it's completely politically dominated, controlled. So I don't know how much benefit will come, how much, what shall I say, how much more sugar will fall. So I am not having any strong views on sugar sector. Incidentally, sugar sector is one of those sectors, a good sector, which is not there in the Nifty. That is point number 1. Point number 2 about JP Morgan. See, I don't want to rubbish anybody's opinion. After all, as they say, all of us have an opinion. And it could be right, it could be wrong. So I can easily counter JP Morgan's opinion in 2 points. One is, now they are saying that if the war goes on, the crude will go to some 200 and whatever, $84 or whatever number. Whatever little I learned in economics in my MBA has been that there is something called demand destruction. So there is a price, that is how we have resistance and supports. So there is a price at which the demand will die if there is an extraordinary increase in the price of the underlying commodity, however much important it may be to our day-to-day life. So my analysis of the charts tells me that it's very unlikely that we will cross the high of what we saw at 138. This is my analysis against JP Morgan, who obviously are much, they have many more PhDs. I don't even have a PhD. So they may have their own set of analysis. That is the first point. So there is demand destruction will happen. In my opinion, demand destruction has already started happening. That is why you are seeing people are talking of recession. The very fact recession means that there is demand destruction in the work in progress. Now, let me also tell you, in JP Morgan, there are analysts who last week, with all their data at their command, said that the Dow Jones and NASDAQ and S&P will go up by 11% because of the quarter end and half yearly end adjustments. This was mentioned by them somewhere in June 15th. And we all know what has happened. So even the best of the analysts in the best of the organizations may have some opinion which need not always come true. I don't believe that that opinion is likely to come true this time. This is my opinion, based on my understanding. I have a very limited understanding of the charts, but this is what my understanding says. Now, coming to think about whether there will be redemptions. Now, this is a question again which is hypothetical. We don't know whether there will be redemptions. Now, my experience is gone in the past has been that generally people will redeem. See, what is redemption? Redemption means the money has already been put. Now we may wonder whether the fresh money is coming into the market or not. That is the first thing we should look at, not redemptions. So the fresh money has been coming even last month. It has come in April, May, and June. On July 8th, we will know whether fresh money has come in and what is the extent of that money. We will know this weekend. I expect the money will be significantly higher than June, or at least in line. So that is the first thing, whether fresh money is coming. So fresh money will lead the market up. Now on redemptions, what I have observed in 2008, for instance, 2008-9, the entire 2008-9, there was an increase in inflows into the mutual funds. Even though the market fell 65%, many of the stocks fell 75%, some of them got delisted. My understanding of the psychology, however limited it may be, is that the general public or anybody who is put as an investor, not as a trader, as an investor, would not like to book a loss unless he is forced to book a loss. There are reasons when will he be forced to book a loss? When he wants to use that money for some other activity. Now, we do not know at this point of time how many people want to use that money for some other activity. At least I did not see that in 2008-9 when there was continuous selling by FIIs. The prices were coming down, but there are no redemptions during that time. The redemption started only in 2010. 2010 around May, June, when the Nifty had again gone back to 5,500 and above levels. In 2008, if you remember, Nifty came down to 2250. So there are no redemptions between 6,300 till 5,500. That is from 6,300, it came down to 2,250. From 2,250, it went up to close to 6,000. Only redemption started somewhere in mid of May. This data is available. Having looked at data, I feel there is a very high probability there will be no redemptions now. And I'm also feeling that the people will come to know about the green shoots when they really become green trees. And it will take time, maybe 1 month, 2 months. I think the worst is over economically, inflation-wise. Demand is the same for automobiles or hotels or anything. And people who invest in the stock market are a different breed from the general people who participate in the economy. Only 2.5% of the households invest in the stock market. So these, I would say, are middle to upper middle class kind of people. Or there are some captive people like the EPF, EPFO, where compulsorily they have to be putting money into the system. So based on all this, I do not believe that we will see any significant redemptions. However, we will see it if there is any fresh bad news, which I am unable to see at this point of time. Thank you.
थैंक यू सर. एक और चीज ऐड करूंगा मैं यहाँ पे. आई जस्ट वांट टू गिव एन एग्जांपल. जैसा सर बोल रहे थे $380 का कॉल आया है अपने क्रूड ऑयल के बारे में. आई एम एन इम्पोर्टर ऑफ palm oil. That's the edible oil. That's the world key, and 40% of the edible oils is palm oil. I'll just give you an example what happened in the last 2 months, just briefly for a minute, please. कि द लाइफ हाई जो पाम ऑयल का रिंगेट्स में, जो मलेशियन रिंगेट्स में ट्रेड होता है, दैट वाज 2008 at 4,500 ringgits. That price was reached in December. So in December 2021, many of the people, in fact the industry stalwarts, thought कि इसके ऊपर क्या जाएगा. Everybody was bearish. But it started rising in January above it, and it went up to 7,200 ringgits by March 7th. I think that was the panic day when even Nifty bottomed, Nifty hit a spike low. After that, the market started going sideways. Then on April 29th, there was a ban announced by Indonesia. Again, it went back to 7,200 from 5,200 within 3 days. And there was a holiday of 3 sessions because there was a Eid that time. And obviously people panicked and they bought 3-4 months of supply, because obviously people thought ki kya hoga pata nahi and all that stuff. And today is the day, about 2 months later, the prices are 40% lower. People were expecting the prices might go up by 50% on the Indonesian supply ban, but now today the prices are 40% lower from that day. So it's very difficult to say ki amid panic any calls might seem justifiable, but we have to just see what's happening around the markets and what is actually going around to really get the real picture. And this is the, I think, fine example at how to act amid panic in the market. That's all I can say. Next, Mr. Nilesh.
Yeah, so thanks, Vinayji, thanks, Sainikji, for inviting me. So I like to update on oil. as Vinayji mentioned, that oil has not crossed the 2008 level also. And also it has not crossed the Russian-Ukraine crisis top. जो स्पाइक मारा था वो भी क्रॉस नहीं किया है. उसके बाद लोअर बॉटम बना के नीचे जा रहा है. तो I my personal belief is, and my personal studies, I'm also an oil analyst, and if you can Google search me, I am there on the Google to predict 2014 bear market on oil. My personal update on this is that personally I do see $65 on oil in coming 1 year or so. I don't know from where this $380 has come. This may be some kind of a hype or some kind of a panic or some kind of a crazy things created by JP Morgan. I had countered JP Morgan, Goldman Sachs, everyone when oil was around $112 to $115 in 2014 also. And I had countered one of the biggest bears also. I'll not like to name also here. In 2014 when he had quoted this on the blue channels for $100, $115. So that's point number one. So oil I'm expecting $65. Point number two, that I'm expecting a surprise coming from the US Fed itself. We will see less inflation numbers by October end, and which is reflecting in the prices of US 10-year bond yields, which have come drastically down. So there will be a surprise positive rally on the Nasdaq itself, and if Nasdaq rises, there will be a sharp short covering happening also across the globe, not in on Indian markets. This would be also reflected in other asset classes also, which are related to the liquidity. So my personal take is that invest in decent companies where you have decent cash flows available. Probably they are debt free. That's the first leg. By October, you will see some kind of relief happening or something like that. And personally, my take is that Nifty small cap index has bottom out. जो ऊपर में लेके फंसा है वो कभी बेचने वाला है नहीं, and there will be new stock identification happening which can cross the new lifetime highs also. I'm not bearish on the market. I could be bearish on some stock specific, but overall I am bullish on the market. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thanks, Nilesh Bhai. Very well articulated. I completely second your views, and I won't be surprised for a double digit on oil shortly. That is my assessment. Let's see where it goes. But certainly something above 150 looks quite dramatic in my opinion. 300 and odd is completely googly, if you may say so.
And
We don't know what the reason why it is happening.
And one more thing, sir, I would just just put a point that you should believe these analysts with a pinch of salt always. In 2008, when crude was hovering around $135, Goldman had come out with a call of $200. The market topped within next 2 weeks, and it fell down to $30 within the next 6 months. So just putting this point across. That's it.
Yeah, I would like to just make a small correction. See, when I was going through each of the 50 stocks, I might have made an error of 1 or 2 stocks. Friend of mine pointed out in case of Cipla, for instance, is not fallen 20. I thought it's fallen 19. Actually, it has fallen 17. So 17 and a half or something. So there could be such small errors. But by and large, the numbers should be matching as to what the overall percentage I said. Thank you.
Mr. Shivam? Arun, I'll come.
Hi, good evening everyone. मेरा क्वेश्चन ऑटो सेक्टर को लेकर के है कि अभी जो हम लोग डेटा देख रहे हैं आज मतलब कुछ वीक से कि सब जो रिकमेंडेशन आ रही हैं मतलब हर तरफ से आ रही कि ऑटो सेक्टर मतलब में जो मनी है वो मनी फ्लो बढ़ रहा है, तो क्या वो सस्टेनेबल है या जस्ट अ ट्रैप फॉर द रिटेल इन्वेस्टर? थैंक यू.
Sorry, you were saying that it's a trap for the retail investors. Is that what you meant?
Yes,
No, your voice is not clear. I'm assuming you are saying that the auto sector going up is a trap for the retail investor. So I don't know who sets traps, because I have no idea of those people who simply are there setting up traps. Most of the time we set our own traps. If we believe that the auto sector is doing well, we should be buying it. If as a trader we believe that auto sector is not doing well, then we should be shorting it. As far as I am concerned, I strongly believe that this is only the beginning of a rally in auto sector. I believe that what we will see, the new cycle which starts, what we saw the cycle today, we are looking at what happened between say 2014 to 2022, some 8 years of a down cycle. So we are now going back and thinking that, okay, nothing has happened in the last 7-8 years, so nothing should happen now. It is similar to many sectors like FMCG, or I gave you an example of ITC in the beginning. Lever, for instance, 10 years it did nothing. So everybody thought Lever is not doing anything in the first 10 years of 2000 to 2010. So it was stuck at around 300, 350. From there, it has gone to some close to 3,000 in the next 10 years. So it's a question of where we are in that cycle. I strongly believe that the replacement demand will come. And the way, whatever feedback I have from industry sources, there is enormous amount of supply constraints, not because of that semiconductor problem. It is simply because some capacity has not been increased in the last few years, because there is no demand. And today the demand is so huge that they will not be able to supply. Now this is borne by people like some Mr. Mani, who supplies first aid kits to companies like Ashok Leyland. They cannot get enough, and they're willing to give any price to get a first aid kit. Now there is a Bajaj Auto, the head of Bajaj Auto marketing said, June will be our worst month, and from July we should fly. We will not be able to meet the demand. June, incidentally, was not a bad month for Bajaj Auto. So I trust people who are in the industry rather than analysts, or some analysis talking of somebody is going to trap me. If people feel somebody is going to trap them, easiest thing is to not buy those stocks and to short sell if you're a trader.
Thank you.
Sir,
Thank you
I
so much,
just
sir.
want to add. I just want to add a point, sir, here. So I have booked a Tata car Harrier. So 3 months back, still not yet delivered, sir. So the demand for the automobiles is increasing day by day, and Mahindra is giving you 12 months waiting period for the new launch of XUV 700. So with this, we can know that come to know that demand for the auto is going to be upside only. Upside only.
First of all, congratulations, Rujan. I'm sure you must have made enormous amount of money to buy this one. Next, I hope to hear from you that you'll buy a Benz. Okay? Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Mr. Karun, please. Karun Upreti.
My simple question is on the such way to the host and co-host. The simple thing that look into the retail traders that are working on at current part, small amount joining up. Simple thing, my question is on the way कि जो भी लोग हैं ना, सिंपल सा चीज़ ये सोचते हैं कि ये हम इस इंडस्ट्री में इन्वेस्ट अब कर रहे हैं, तो बीइंग इनटू सच थिंग्स में उसमें क्या चीज़ आ जाती है, एक फैक्टर इन ऑन थिंग्स पर मैं एक लाइट ऑन करना चाहता हूँ कि कोई आदमी चार्ट देख रहा है, ठीक है, कोई आदमी चार्ट नहीं देख रहा, ठीक है, तो मेरा एक एजम्पशंस में ये सिस्टम पर लेके आया, बीइंग इनटू सारा चीज़ों को एनालिसिस करके, बीइंग इनटू 7 years का ट्रेडिंग लेके, कि ये मार्केट क्या पैसे का बोलबाला है या क्या चीज़ है? जस्ट थ्रो लाइट ऑन इट.
Sir, it depends. Karun, sir, you raised a very important question कि क्या है? So ये माया है, right? So there are two types of people in the market. One, in my opinion, majority, because my experience goes to maybe 3 decades and I've seen at least 30,000 traders in my life. One is people who come here to make maza, who think it's some joke. So they treat it like a casino. Come with lots of money, try to show off that I have the money, so I can do anything. And we know what happens in a casino. They will invariably lose after some time. Some people may lose in the first shot. Some people may lose after 3 days. Some people may lose after 3 months. Some people may lose after 3 years. But lose they will. That is the rule of the casino. So most people I have seen come in thinking it's a casino. Old timers like us think that this is a temple. So for me, the stock market is a temple. When I open my terminal, I clean it I make it clean in the sense when I sit there, I think that this is that I'm entering a temple. So I should be in clean mind, clean body, clean everything, including the instrument. I treat it like I'm praying to God. and I expect that I will not receive my rewards very quickly. But if I pray to God enough and I'll have a cleaner mind, I'll have a better, and I mean, let's say, what shall I say? When I go with a cleaner mind, I'll be able to think better. And hopefully, over a period of time, God will give me what I deserve. In a casino, I'm sure I will lose. In a temple, I feel I have a chance. So a lot of people are in casino, and I
बट
am
सर
not in that.
वही चीज मेरे को थोड़ा डर भी ये चीज का लगता है ना कि जो चीज अभी फ्यू डेज बैक अभी आप देखे होंगे कि कुछ फैट फिंगर का चीज आ गया, ठीक है। उस चीज में क्या हुआ कि देखा एक ऑप्शन को मैनिपुलेशन हो गया, किसी ब्रोकर ने एक फैट फिंगर दबा दिया और वो चीज के चक्कर में क्या कहते हैं मैनी पीपल सिस्टम पे ऐसा हुआ कि एक चीज समझ लिए कि ठीक है एक ऑप्शन को हमने मतलब कि इतने कैपिटल में हम मैनिपुलेशन कर सकते हैं, तो उससे कैसे डील आउट कर रहे हैं रिटेल ट्रेडर?
Sir, there is no escape from fat finger trades. There is no escape from manipulation. Fat finger trades and manipulation have been there from time immemorial. They will continue to happen over next decade and century and all that. When you enter the market, you should know your risks. There are risks, but the risks may be 1 in 1 lakh when for a fat finger trade. Should we enter the capital market with all this mischief going on? I would say yes. Without hesitation, I would say yes, because this is a place where you can build your wealth over a period of time if you're not greedy enough. If you don't treat it as a casino, but if you treat it as a temple, I'm fairly certain that you can build wealth over time.
थोड़ा सा एक सवाल और क्या कहते हैं टू द होस्ट एंड को होस्ट, हाइपोथेसिस, बीइंग इनटू हाइपोथेसिस एंड बीइंग इनटू प्रोबेबिलिटी, इन पे कैसे डिफरेंशिएट कर ले रिटेल ट्रेडर और विनिंग सिचुएशन को ग्रैब ऑन कर ले, इस पर थोड़ा सा लाइट ऑन कर दीजिए। मेरा ये लास्ट सवाल है।
See, hypothesis and probability, for that, before you enter the market, before you go to play a cricket match, you should know the rules of the game. For that, you have to study. For that, you have to practice. Most people I know do not do that. They don't have time or the inclination to practice. If you are to read and if you are to look at the chart from far, don't look at these technical indicators. Remove the technical indicators. Look at the prices. Look at what happened at the lows, at the highs. Try to find out why the lows were hit and why the highs were hit. You will get much more information of much more confidence of how you go and trade. See, this is a hard work, but that is the work you need to do if you want to make money. We all know just by pressing F1 and F2 button, it is not like an ATM that will give you money. Even for ATM, you need to have money in your bank account. Otherwise, just by pressing some button on the ATM, you will not get the money. So for that, you really require hard work to put the money in your bank account, for which you can take money out of an ATM. If you do not have that kind of discipline, then it's very difficult for you to make money in the market in whatever you may do, whether you put it in a mutual fund or whether you simply tukka marenge, aap kuch bhi karenge, aapko paisa nahi milega, because this is one of the toughest places to make money. So hypothesis has to be happen only if you have or probability you can come aboard only if you have studied the market. So when you if you observe me or any person, Vipin Bhai also will speak later, we never talk of certainty. If you ask me, where will market go? I'll say that there is a probability that it will go there. I cannot say that it will go down definitely, which many people talk about. They'll say definitely it will go here, definitely it will go there. Being in the market for so many years, if somebody says definitely it will go there, then I think he has not learned anything and he will not learn anything. So you have to have a probability. You have to affix probability. So just to carry this forward, this example, somebody said this market will go to 14,800. Why? Because everybody says so. So I told him, I have been in the market when Nifty was 875. 800. So I can tell you that from 14.8, why only 14.8? Why can't it go to 12.5? Because we have seen 12.5. Why can't it go to 7.5? We have seen 7.5 in the last 2 years. Why can't it go to 6.3? We have seen 6.3 was a high in 2008 and 2010. Why can't it go to 5.3? It was there in 2013. Why can't it go to 4.5? It was there in 2011. Why can't it go to 2,250? It was there in 2008. Why can't it go to 1,000? It was there when in 1998. For the full 1998 year, the Nifty never went above 1,000. So what is the probability of it going there? That will come, your confidence will come only when you study the market. Why did it trade below 1,000 in 1998? Why did it go to 2250 in 2008? Or why did it go to 4.5 or 6.3 or 7.5 or 12.10.8 or 12.450? So you will assign probabilities based on what happened then, what is the probability of it happening again. So based on that, my probability is that it's unlikely to go significantly down. Now, will it go to 14.8? Who knows? It may go. It may go lower. It may go anywhere. But for that, the probability is low at this point of time is what you have to, for that you have to study. And this 30 years plus of my study, still I wonder at tomorrow morning at 9:15 where the market will go, what scripts I have to buy. I have to think 20 times. And I also know 60%, 40% of my trades will go wrong tomorrow. I don't know which those 40% are, but I'm humble enough. I must be humble enough to accept there will be 40% of trades which will go wrong tomorrow. Only then will you progress.
Thank you very much, sir, for answering the questions on very lighter notes, on making us understand what things goes on the way. Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you, Karan. Thank
You obliged on.
Mr. Nitesh.
Yeah. Thank you, Vijay sir, and thank you, Vikas sir, again for giving me opportunity to speak in today's space. Sir, my question is regarding cryptocurrency. Of late, I'm reading a lot of defaults because of lot of leverage by so many people, and there are articles of millions of dollars of default. So my question is, you know, will this kind of default actually create some issue in especially in US markets because there's a lot of leverage, and will it impact overall, the financial system of US, and will that have a ripple effect globally? I understand in India, cryptocurrency and all, we have very tight regulations, and people are not exposed much, but will the overall flow from the US markets actually will it impact overall, the global markets? Thank you, sir.
सैनिक सर आप है
Sorry. Thank you, Nitesh. I'm sorry. I put it on mute. So this is a very valid fear you have. A lot of people have had that fear. And I believe, based on whatever numbers I know, that this is a small universe vis-a-vis what the universe of capital markets is. And I also feel that the people who invest in crypto are completely different set of people than who invest in the regular capital market. So if let's say it was housing, for instance, subprime in US, housing is a very big market. So everybody invests in housing, and you had the big guys investing in the subprime CDOs and those instruments. Whereas in crypto, we do not have any such big players. I'm talking registered big players like the JP Morgans and the Cities and the guys who are playing big time. They may have a crypto unit, but that is nothing to overshadow any of those investment advice which they give. So therefore, I think that will be a problem limited to a part of the market. And I also think crypto itself has shown where it is today. I don't think fresh investments into crypto will come, and the people who suffered losses will suffer. And I think you will probably see it coming down significantly lower from here because it is of no value. I've been very much against crypto right from when it was 40,000 plus. It went to 60, but it has come to wherever it is. The Bitcoin I'm talking of. So therefore, I don't think it will have any great impact. This is my understanding based on whatever I have been reading. So I don't even include that in my calculations as one more fear which I have to encounter when I'm going to invest in the market. But of course, people may have different opinions, but this is my opinion.
Thank you, sir. Thanks a lot.
Yeah, thanks, Nitesh.
Trend on.
Okay. Thank you, sir. Thank you for giving me the opportunity. So, there are a lot of macro concerns people are talking about. There are a lot of fundamental issues people are talking about. But I feel the all the fundamentals, all the macro concerns are already discounted by the market. The market already knows. Market is always forward looking. The big guys, institutions already know the concerns going on, and they take actions accordingly. So whatever the bad news is there, whatever the effect of bad news has to be there, it has already done. Market has already fallen. Market has already discounted all the bad news. Uh, while I'm saying this, because I study the charts, the cycles, and whoever studies the charts always believe that market discounts the news. So all the bad news has been already discounted. That is my belief. Market across the globe, I'm seeing U.S. markets, Indian market, German DAX, Japanese, Chinese. All the markets have uh, given that effect of the bad news, and already I feel across the globe market are starting to bottom out. Yes, it's definitely, it would be very early to say, but I believe in cycles, uh, and my cycles are pointing out that probably we have done whatever correction, whatever bear market we had to do. Uh, I'm saying this because I'm tracking the bond yields also. So the bond yield, it's a clear topping signal. So maybe the inflation concerns, probably inflation has peaked out, because I see the bond yields is peaking, and I see a sharp reversal in bond yields. Uh, I had pointed out about this problem of bond yields going up along with the dollar in October. In October, where when everything was rosy, when markets were crazy high, when there were a lot of IPOs. I had clearly, I mean, I was little early, of course, I was little early from the early October. I was continuously warning people that one should be getting in cash. One should be getting in cash because we something is going to happen. I don't know what is that thing. I didn't know definitely that war is going to happen. Rather, when I gave a target of 15,000 on index in October, a person asked me, how can you give a target of something which is 3,000 point low when market is at 18,000 plus? So, of course, and that person actually asked me that, is there going to be a war? So definitely, I didn't know. Putin did not call me and say that, yes, I'm going to go going on a war with Ukraine. Definitely, I didn't know. I don't have that information. But I believe in charts. I believe in cycles. So in October, the bond yields, the dollar, and all the global cycles pointed out that yes, probably we are near to the end of uh, a cycle of bull market, and currently exactly opposite. I see exactly opposite. I'm seeing probably we are near to the end of the bear market. Uh, w- I'm seeing from a lot of charts. So crude, someone pointed out that JP Morgan has given a target of 380. Uh, well, I believe the crude should be going to $90. Uh, Usually, crude and equity has a positive correlation, but obviously, because of the geopolitical issues, we have somewhat negative correlation right now from couple of months, and it is going to be there. I believe the crude bottoms out a little later than equities, and that has happened in March 2020 also. So the markets bottomed out in March, whereas the crude kept continue to fall till April end. So I see crude will continue to fall maybe next 2 3 months or maybe more, and we might go to $90. The short term there will be probably a negative correlation with crude and equity, because definitely if the supply constraints get over, whatever may be the reason, I don't know the reason, but the charts are pointing out that crude should be going to $90, and uh, in short term that might bring the positivity in markets. Also, if you are talking about inflation, a lot of base metal prices have come down. In US, wheat prices have come down, cotton prices have come down. So probably the data will come after a quarter, and I mean the concerns of inflation peaking. The data will change after a quarter, but the prices have already come down, and yes, I believe that that will affect positively to the equity. Again, when I'm talking about the cycles, so
Dikshit sir,
we
sorry
have
to intervene. Dikshit sir, sorry to intervene. Can you please keep it short, please? Just a
yeah,
request,
yeah.
please.
Okay, sorry.
Yeah.
So basically, again, coming to India markets, so we have never seen a secular bull market. I'm talking about the secular bull market, as in the inclusive rally in across the board, which we saw in 2020 across metals, infrastructure, capital goods, and all the sector, almost all the sectors, which have given a terrific underperformance after 2008. So and these charts, real estate, infrastructure, metals, capital goods, have a 12 years of breakout. 12 years of breakouts in first time in the 2020, and we are retesting now. So whenever on charts, any sector, any stock gives it 10, 12 years of consolidation and breakout, this is not going to stop in like just 1 year. I believe the bull market, which started in 2020, is going to continue for a couple of like 6 7 years, and we have just seen first part of the bull market. Currently, we are correcting, and probably we have already corrected enough. We have already done. You may not see it in index, but the broad market has corrected. The broad market has corrected almost 40 50%. A lot of stocks have corrected, and you will not see it in index because index is managed. So I see from here, market is super bullish. I'm super bullish on markets. Of course, it's early. I was bullish in March 2020 also. Of course, I did not see that 18,000 coming, but I was very sure of a market coming about 12,500 then also. So currently, also I'm super bullish. I feel that if you are an investor, you should start looking to invest in next 2 3 months, and on
And
2 3 years
on
time frame, I'm very bullish.
Yeah, thanks, Randomix. Thank you for the perception. Vipin bhai, do you want to speak? Because your time may come after 10:45. Is that okay with you? You're not well, you said.
Good evening, sir. I think I'm due to viral feeling very bad, so I will try to during closing time.
Fine, okay.
Okay. 10:45 it will be approximately 10:45. Is that okay with you?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. Yeah. Thanks, Vipin.
Ahmed ji.
Thanks.
Yeah, hi Sanik sir and co-host. Good evening to all of you. So, as per the topic, will Indian bulls lead US bulls? Well, for me, it's just a hypothesis, as I can understand, because see, we can simply compare the size of economy what they have or what we have. It's not a matter of being a patriotic or something. It's a matter of reality. Well, it's a different topic. See, as per better of my understanding, still US volatility index is trading somewhere around 26, which was around 33 nearby, and Indian VIX is still around 21, 22 somewhere. As per better of my understanding, in US market is much more mature than our developing countries market. Any developing country might be. So if they are that much volatile till now and they are not in the mood of cool off, so it is very early to say that we are heading somewhere on the bottom line or might be somewhere, because see, मुझे बहुत सिंपल लगता है कि इंडियन विक्स should be somewhere equal to US VIX. Either US VIX will come down or Indian VIX will shoot up, something like that. So, see, if Indian VIX will shoot up, definitely we can be bear. But if the US VIX will cool off, then we can understand that the US market is quite stable and going to do something, directional at all. Until unless it is not in that mood, so traders should be very much cautious. They should not carry any kind of open-ended position either direction. I'm not talking about any particular direction, I'm talking about both the directions. With the help of VIX, whatever I read till 7 of 8 years of my experience, I have very small, because people have a very, host and all have a very multiple experience than me. But what I understand about VIX, so it is something indicating still there is no any signal of being stability in the market. So I think traders should be very much cautious. Investors have a definitely good chance to introduce at least their 30-35% of corpus at this place. If it also go down for any such reason, so definitely they should add more. They are getting a good opportunity after COVID fall somewhere, because see, very rarely trader get a good chance in good stocks. Even bad stocks can be available at any cheaper price anytime, no concern. But good stock at cheap price, if they are available, so it is a fantastic time to grab them. And of course investors should take a chance right here to go in a directional way positively, because either nifty or person, everyone will go up sooner or later. So have patience, have faith with the Indian growing economy, and definitely in coming days we will definitely come up. But for right now it is bottom somewhere. No, I cannot say like this. Even there is no any kind of evidence. Yes, crude is cooling off, but not only crude is a one thing, because see, our currency is also very much very much panic mode. So let's see how we are going to be bottom for our currency as well. So this is my overall take on this topic. This is all from my side. Thank you, sir, for giving me the opportunity. Thank you.
Thank you, Amit.
Yeah, thanks, Amit.
Mr. Fact Finder.
Hey, hi.
Hi.
I have, as usual, I would have a slightly different view. On crude oil, my view is that, as we get into the second half of the year, usually the demand increases. There's also about 5 million barrels of refining capacity that will come online. Typically, when refining comes through, there is an increased demand of crude oil. Inventory levels are fairly low. You've had issues from Libya, Ecuador, and a couple of other countries recently in the last 1.5 weeks. And I think both UAE as well as Saudi have admittedly said that they have very limited capacity. US rig count actually fell down and didn't go up. So my view is that amongst various commodities, crude oil is definitely better placed. As far as the general correction in commodities, I would like to highlight that this was driven entirely, and if you look at examples like wheat, it is, you'd say, wow, wheat has just corrected massively. Has supply changed? No, supply has not changed at all. Right? There is still a shortage of wheat. So then the question is, what drove such a correction? This was just VAR related selling, that is value at risk related selling. When there's a spike and there are losses in various asset classes, you are forced to unwind. And that force of unwinding has resulted in several soft commodity prices crashing. So I would, since VK had mentioned about palm oil, it's possible, and I don't know whether to say yes or no, but Not just palm oil, but several soft commodities corrected, and they're fairly illiquid compared to crude oil. So one needs to also take that into consideration. Now, if we were to assume for a moment that these soft commodity prices are real and they will stay here, then that will actually be fairly bad for India's rural demand, right? Because people assume that monsoons are good, rural demand will be better because agri prices are better. But remember, fertilizer prices are still fairly high, and whatever fertilizers one consumed, you will get the produce of the food only in 5 to 6 months. So you've consumed expensive, items, but your revenues will suddenly fall. That'll be a double whammy for you. So that's one point. Second point is on the US. I think people are reading too much into this correction of bond yields and saying, it's a good thing bond yields are going down. It makes equity more attractive. Bear in mind, the way I look at it is slightly differently. As an asset allocator, where will I lose less money? And that is the most important question for anybody. Where will you lose less money? If you look at the US, for example, earnings estimates for 2022 and 2023, there is a general assumption that earnings in 2022 will grow by about 10-11%, and 2023 it will grow by about another 10-11%. With a recession happening, and I think most of you would agree, then there is a chance that earnings actually, you don't get a 10% earnings growth, you might actually get a 5% earnings decline. Or one could safely assume that maybe you'll have just flat earnings for the next 2 years in the US as things settle down. Bear in mind that US margins, corporate margins, before COVID were about 11.5%, and today they're at about 13%. So that can very much well back go to 11%. That's a fairly sharp cut. So my thinking is that if you even end up with a flat earnings for the next 12 months in the US, forget about earnings decline, but even a flat earnings, the best case, you attach an average multiple of 16 times, you end up with a US S&P of 3,000. That's about 20% lower than what it is today. Now, if the US is going to correct 20%, I don't see how India will remain here, because for an institutional investor abroad, people invest in other markets only when they see lesser opportunity in their markets. Now, the other question is, how are people's allocation to equity? If you look at the data on people's allocation for equity versus, say, the bottoms of 2008 to 2000, correction, which were at about 35-36%, today we are still slightly above pre-COVID levels in terms of allocation to equity. So while the markets have corrected, the allocation to equities hasn't corrected enough. And going back to that point about, if I could lose more money in equity, where will I put my money in debt? Because if debt yields, if growth comes off, debt yields come off, bond values go up, I would rather shift that money from equity to bonds. While, the general sense amongst people is, bond yields are falling down, this is great, more liquidity, and so buy equities. No, that's absolutely the wrong thing to look at it. And as far as India's growth is concerned, I think, I vehemently disagree with anybody who believes that growth is bottomed out in India. I don't think so at all. We will see our numbers in the June quarter. I think the data that seems to be coming out is quite bad. Now, I wouldn't want to read into data points saying, I booked my Scorpio, XUV 700, and the waiting period of 12 months. The Scorpio 700 is barely 1 or 2% of total demand in our country. I mean, it's irrelevant. You don't even count it, right? I mean, it's like saying, the 5-star hotels are full. Yeah, but there are only 80,000 5-star hotel rooms or 90,000 5-star hotel rooms in our country. Our population is even the middle class population is 25 million. So 85,000 hotel rooms is nothing. So I wouldn't, try and extrapolate those data points to talk about how great things are. You will see the numbers, and I think the numbers will be very bad. There's also last thing about India's earnings growth. I think this is a very important point. If you split up the earnings growth into two parts, one is the non-financials and one is the financials, and about 30% of the earnings growth of non-financials comes from Reliance, and now that is under risk. And another 20% of the earnings growth was coming from ONGC, which is also under risk. Further, you haven't really seen the massive sharp cuts in metal stocks. Bear in mind, metal stocks delivered a huge amount of earnings growth over the last 2 years. That'll be swiftly bad. Situation in China is horrible in terms of property. Companies like Tencent have started firing people. When companies which are cash rich, that generate $30 billion of cash, are firing people, then boss, there is a big problem. And Chinese guys have lost money in real estate. They've lost money in wealth management products which are linked to real estate. They're not buying property. Demand for metals is essentially, steel will be very, very bad. And then you will have an earnings cut out there. So if I look at a lot of this, there is still a lot of earnings cuts that will happen in India. And I'm not even spoken about IT services. So I'm just saying that I think this is just a temporary respite in the market. If my view of the US S&P is right and it goes to eventually 3,000, then I don't think India market is going to be here. It'll be down because foreigners will keep selling. As long as India keeps supporting the market, EPFO, NPS, everybody's, if you look at our retail market volumes, they've come off, which means the retail investors getting fed up. Yeah, that's all I have to say.
Yeah, thanks, FactFinder. Obviously, we both live in parallel universe. Let us agree to disagree. And so long as we disagree honorably, that's okay. I'm extremely confident of the corporate results, which are going to shock the bulls as well as the bears, which are going to come now. More important than the corporate results are the future expectations of what corporate India will do. This is based not on what I think it should do. It is based simply on me collating data across industries and people who are actually in the industry coming and talking about their prospects this quarter and next quarter, be it from tech, be it from FMCG, be it from autos, be it from pharma, be it from every other sector. Incidentally, I think a lot of people, were a little bit scared when the head of Hindustan Lever, for instance, pointed out saying that it is the worst, 12 quarters they had and all that. Now, I challenge that gentleman as to, what he is talking about is past and what he should be talking of should be the future, for which he said he has been grossly misquoted in the sense he believes strongly that his company will do extremely well. So I will believe him when he says that, his company will do well because it's the largest FMCG. So I also have people on the ground who supply to autos, who supply to other industries. Now, Vinay talked of edible oil. So all of them are coming up with numbers, or rather with prospects of a better quarter. In terms of monsoon is already, July is the month when monsoon fate is decided. And we have begun the month, on a very nice note as far as the IMD was concerned. They had mentioned that will happen. And I also believe, based on whatever readings I have had on the weather charts, July would be a damn good month. As far as sowing season happens only in July. So while the largest FMCG company says that they will do well, despite all these headwinds, and at the ground level where people who supply to places like Ashok Leyland, for instance, where they're running short of, supplies in such a situation, I believe strongly that corporate India will report very good results the next quarter. This quarter, we will definitely see some margin issues, which I think is discounted by the prices. And we should see the body language when they come to speak. I'm fairly certain most, if not all, will have a very positive body language, because that's already evident when they come on CNBC and other channels now itself, where they talk of better prospects going into the calendar year. So I would like to just let it be as is. So it's okay. I completely take your point. You got a different point of view. It's okay. There's no hassle with it. We should always have 2 points, because both the buyer and seller believe that is their best price. That's how a trade takes place. So you are a seller, I am a buyer, hypothetically. So we both believe that this is the best price. For me, that it will go up. For you, it will come down. It's perfectly okay. There is no harm in having that. And I'm open to your ideas on that.
Sainik, let me just clarify. Autos is the only sector that will see benefit, but I will not read that as a general assessment of the economy. Most of the people you do channel checks with would have been in autos and auto components. And yes, all of them will tell you good stuff. And I'm also aware of that view. But to extrapolate autos to the rest of the economy, I think is a huge fallacy. As far as Unilever is concerned, they are one company that has consistently gained market share and delivered far better growth for the last 15 years compared to any other FMCG industry. In fact, their earnings growth in the last 5 years has been 13% to 14%, which is far better than much more expensive companies like Asian Paints, which has grown its profits at 0% for the last 2 years. So, okay, but nobody talks about. So if that guy, and if you look at data from Bizom, which tracks several, I would say a few 100,000 outlets across the country who sell consumer durables as well as consumer goods. Across the board, they have consistently seen a tick down in demand. So I don't know from where you're getting this information. But yeah, I hope you're right.
I've given you my sources of income, information. I didn't say it's only auto. I told you pharma. I told you FMCG. I've told you take other industry like tech. I told you both TCS and Infosys. I trust them because I believe that they know what they're doing. I'm just an analyst, and this is what information I have got from the industry leaders. Take it from tech in Infosys and TCS. Take it from FMCG, whether it's ITC or Hindustan Lever. Take it from autos. Take it from what other industries are there? Banking, for instance. SBI has reported the best results ever in their last quarter, and when I hear of what the chairman of HDFC talks about, I assume that they know their business. And banking is the place where the entire economy is dependent on that. And if the banking industry people feel very positive, so I assume that they know it. Let us see, 30 days from now, we will know where the results are. While you are very bearish on what the results are, I'm extremely bullish on how the results will pan out. We will have this we'll have this discussion after, say, 30 days. We'll have another spaces and see where we are. I'm happy if I'm proven wrong, but I think I'll be proven right, not because I want to be proven right. It's just simply that the industry leaders have said so. And I'm not banking on any hearsay or any hypothesis or any fear of if that may happen at this moment. So let's see.
Sir, I just want to add one point here. I'm also into manufacturing industry. In the spaces of November, I remember I said that the margins are very squeezed that time. Whatever the profits the industries were making because of the prices going up, to be honest, as a manufacturer. But last 1.5 months, my margins I've seen the best margins in the last 2 years in my products which I'm manufacturing right now. Because before that, whatever money the industries were making, at least my industry was making, was due to the spiking, the continuous rise in commodity prices. But now, right now, despite the prices falling, I'm seeing good demand as well as very good margins, as I've told you, which I've not seen at least in the last 2.5 years. This is my experience that I'm sharing. I cannot really generalize about other industries, but in my particular edible oil industry, I can say that.
Yeah, let's go ahead. I think Manish wanted to speak.
Yes.
हेलो नमस्कार सर.
हाँ मनीष जी बोलिए.
सर मेरा क्वेश्चन है, हाउ कैन वी डिफरेंशिएट वेदर इट इज अ कंसोलिडेशन फेज और डिस्ट्रीब्यूशन फेज और इट इज जस्ट अ करेक्शन? Because if we see the past data, from 2010 to 2013, broader market was going down and Nifty was in a phase of 6,000 to around 5,000 or 4,500. Then Modi ji came and it's take a lead to 9,000. Again, same data repeated in 2018 to 2020. Market was in a range of 2,000 or 2,500 point. Broader market was going down. Nifty was in a, heavyweight was only managing the Nifty like IT and other Reliance and all. And after that, distribution was happening and sudden crash came. But in 2010 to 2013, Nifty was in a consolidation phase. Post that, government changed, all like the BJP government, and Nifty started rally. So how can we differentiate whether it is a consolidation phase or distribution phase? Because the same panic is happening in the broad market right now also. People are talking about new. Some people are talking about new also, but we never know. Maybe next 1.5 year, we never cross. We may not cross 18,500 also. Or we may not go down below 14,500 also. So how can we differentiate what phase it is? Correction, distribution, or consolidation?
Yeah, see, Manish, thanks for the question. We couldn't hear quite a bit of it because there was a disturbance in the voice. But I got a point. The central point you want to ask is it consolidation or distribution? So how I look at it is, in distribution, what happens is it's basically on price. You have a lower top, lower bottom is distribution. Higher top, higher bottom over a period of time is consolidation. It need not be a higher top always, but it could be a higher bottom and it could be in a range. So if you look at sectors like banking, if you look at select banks, of course, not all of them. If you look at autos, certainly. If you look at FMCG, if you look at pharma selectively, you will see that they are forming higher bottoms as we go along since March. So I would say that is a consolidation phase as far as I am concerned. Now, people can turn around and say, no, this.
DK, is there some problem with signing?
Yeah, Annexer got disconnected. That's what I'm thinking.
Yeah, I wanted to generally ask a question to you as well as, Vipin. In your base case, are you building a scenario that earnings of Nifty upgraded over the next 3-4 quarters or gets downgraded? By the way, I think, this quarter Q1 will see an upgrade because of Reliance, but Q2, Q3, Q4 will see a downgrade because the changes in law are effective Q2 onwards. Typically, when there is an earnings downgrade cycle, markets don't go up.
So I'm expecting actually the current set of results to be bad. And I think in the next preceding quarter, I think the results will start improving because everybody's focused on, I'm sure, inflation and everything, but nobody's focusing on growth. That is what my base case is, to be honest. I also was very bearish when the inflation was getting beyond control back in October, but there was no signs of growth to me. I was not having any hope, to be honest. But I am of the firm belief that inflation is not bad as it is, but without growth, it's bad. But right now, there's too much focus on inflation. But right now, in the Asian market, if you see, the inflation is not as bad as in the Western markets. That is what at least my reading is telling me. I might be wrong in that. But what I feel is the Indian growth cycle, which has been laggard in the last few years, as you also know, at least I have also noticed, because I've also not invested much in new capex in the last 2-3 years. But right now, I'm feeling much more confident in going ahead and investing in the economy, in new investments, in new factory setups, and everything. So this is what my personal reading is. Of course, I might be wrong, but then this is what I have the reading of.
The other question is, what are your thoughts on capital gains tax? Is that also a part of your base case? Because that's a fairly, the government is...
Big headwind, yes, I agree with that. But I think that this news चल रही है सर, 2 साल से चल रही है.
No. Specifically been brought out by very credible people. This is the first time I actually believe that they are very serious about it.
I think. Yeah, Sujan, just go ahead.
Mr. Srujan has got disconnected again. Mr. Vineet, please continue, please.
Hi, Vijay ji, how are you? Sorry, I joined very late. So I understand when I joined, everybody was talking about pressure margins, margin pressures, and inflation impact, and economy slowing down, and etc. But while some sectors are getting impacted, there are some sectors like banking which is going to get impacted positively. So starting this quarter and next 3-4 quarters, we will see very good set of numbers in banking industry. And like Sainik ji has mentioned that most of the industry leaders have already pointed that out. We are going to see full blown benefits of interest rate hike in banking sector. While, however, there will be some margin pressures across the manufacturing industry, but that is going to wane off in next 3-4 quarters as inflation will kill down itself due to base effect or either commodity prices coming down. So that was my opinion, because we are seeing only one side of the inflation. We are not looking at the other side of inflation, which can actually bring vigor to the index again.
Yeah, thanks, Vinit Bhai. Thanks for your comments. Vinay, I think what we will do is we will not take any more speakers because it's already 10:45.
Right, sir. I have actually online.
Yeah, correct. The whole, no, we'll complete them. No, we'll complete every single person who's here, and then Vipin will close out the session.
Right. Noted, sir. Right. Mr. Bhanu, please.
हेलो सर, नमस्कार।
नमस्कार।
सर, मैं विपिन जी जनरल से सवाल है मेरा, और शरद सर से सवाल है। जो मैं व्यू देखता हूँ विपिन सर के, तो वो जनरली मुझे बुलिश नजर आते हैं, और शरद सर के जब व्यूज देखता हूँ तो जनरली वो बियरिश नजर आते हैं। तो मैं बस ये जानना चाह रहा था कि दोनों लोग अपनी अपनी बात अगर संक्षिप्त में कह दें तो मुझे कुछ समझ में आए कि अब मुझे कौन सा व्यू बनाना चाहिए। थैंक यू सर।
Okay, Vipin Bhai will speak last. Rahul Singh.
Mr. Rahul Singh, please. Excuse me. Mr. Rahul Singh, are you there?
Yes, sir. Please view on Asian Paint. I have the put of 2800 for July.
Bhai Sahab, I am not very sure about specific thing because I don't know who will give specific. Normally, we don't talk of very specific instruments and specific, prices. Suffice to say that Asian Paints is not doing well if you look at the charts. July may be a completely different month. If the market goes up, I think Asian Paints also may go up. But this is not investment advice. This is just an observation which I made based purely on prices. So I'm sorry, I'm not able to give you a very specific answer. But this is not the forum generally where we talk of very specific instruments and prices. Thank you, Rahul, for asking the question.
Vipin Bhai?
Yeah. Thanks, Sainik sir, for giving me this opportunity. And I hope कि आपने sufficient data share किया होगा. Sorry, मैं उस समय था नहीं. आपका टॉपिक है आज का कि will Indian bull lead US bull. तो yes, definitely हमें कुछ डेटा करेंसी को लेके हमें मॉनिटर करना चाहिए कि जब मार्केट ने रॉक बॉटम लगाया था 7500 का, एवरीवन वाज पैनिक, तो उस समय 76 एंड 77 का एक हाई लगा था, स्पाइक हाई। अगर आप उसको एवरेज ले तो 76 का एक हाई था, और उसके बाद मार्केट ने अब ट्रेंड पकड़ा और 2021 के जनवरी तक हमने 72 का लो लगाया, और उसके बाद फिर से हमने अब ट्रेंड पकड़ा क्योंकि वहां से इन्फ्लेशन वगैरह सब कुछ पीक कर रही थी। ठीक है, तो उस समय का अगर हम एवरेज कॉस्ट अगर हम करेंसी का लेते हैं तो 76 से 72 मतलब हम इंडिया को 74 का एवरेज कॉस्ट पूरे एक साल का मिल लगा। अब उस समय का अगर हम कमोडिटी का प्राइस देखते हैं, क्रूड ऑयल $50, आयरन और पाम ऑयल या जितनी भी सारी चीजें हैं ऑलमोस्ट आधे रेट पे अवेलेबल थी। डिमांड इम्प्रूव हो गई, चीजें जितनी भी थी सब अपनी जगह सिचुएशन पे आ गई, कमोडिटीज डबल हो गई, लेकिन यूएसडी आई ना 77-78 पे ही पड़ा है। अब अगर हम दुगने रेट पे माल खरीद रहे हैं, क्वांटिटी हमारी सिमिलर है, क्वांटिटी में कोई ज्यादा कमी नहीं है, क्रूड ऑयल में स्पेशली जो सबसे बड़ा है, तो चल क्या रहा है? अगर 2.5 लाख करोड़ का एफआई ने बिकवाली किया तो पैसा गया कहाँ? कमोडिटी दुगने रेट पे अवेलेबल है, तो रुपया 80-85 क्यों नहीं गए? इसको कोई नहीं ध्यान दे रहा है। 78-79 टच करके 78 और 79 के बीच में घूम रहा है, कमोडिटी अपने पीक पे है, बाकी चीजें ठीक है करेक्ट हुई हैं, लेकिन अभी भी वो अपने मार्च लो से दुगने रेट पे बैठी हैं, क्योंकि कोई 3 गुना गई, कोई 4 गुना हुई। क्रूड अगर आप नेचुरल गैस देखें तो करीब 4 गुना चली गई थी अपने बॉटम से। अपने बॉटम से अगर हम क्रूड को देखें तो स्पाइक लो को छोड़ दे तो $20-25 से $132, तो उसका भी एवरेज प्राइस $20 से कम 5-6 गुना गए। तो फिर करेंसी ने 80-85 का स्पाइक हाई, एटलीस्ट स्पाइक हाई तो मारना चाहिए था। ये स्पाइक हाई हमें पहले भी दिख चुका है 2013 अगस्त में 69 का स्पाइक हाई लगा था, वर्टिकल मूवमेंट हुई थी, पैनिक लगा था, उसी अगस्त में रघुराम राजन ने ज्वाइन किया था। उसके बाद से करेंसी का क्या हुआ, 15 से 20% के बीच में गिरावट आई, मजबूती आई, यूएसडी आई ना, मतलब डॉलर कमजोर हुआ, रुपया मजबूत हुआ, और वहां से हमें एक बहुत जबरदस्त बुल मार्केट मिली थी। उस समय भी यही जर्क लगा था, हमें कमोडिटी का ही जर्क लगा था, हमारी सारी कमोडिटी शूट कर गई थी। $90 के आसपास आपका क्रूड था, जबकि इंडियन क्रूड ने 2008 का जब 148 डॉलर का स्पाइक हाई लगा था 2008 में, तो क्रूड ने उस हाई को तोड़ दिया था, उस हाई को डबल टॉप मारा था। हमने गोल्ड में डबल अपना 2011 का टॉप तोड़ा था, जबकि इंटरनेशनल किसी भी ने भी नहीं मारा, क्योंकि हमारी करेंसी कोलैप्स हुई थी बहुत शार्पली, 69 का हाई लगा था, फिर वहां से हम 59 या शायद उससे भी नीचे चले गए थे। तो आज अगर इतना कुछ प्रॉब्लम है, 2.5 लाख करोड़ का माल बिक चुका है पिछले 9 महीने में, सिर्फ 8 महीने में, हिंदुस्तान बर्बाद होने वाला है, सारा डेटा बहुत खराब है, हम सब बहुत गरीब हैं, हमारी कोई बरकत नहीं होने वाली है, हम अमेरिका के भेजे हुए पैसे से चल रहे हैं, ठीक है, तो फिर डॉलर 100 पे आना चाहिए, कम से कम इस समय 100 पे होना चाहिए जैसे हालात थे, बट डॉलर उस हिसाब से कंपेरेटिवली हद से ज्यादा स्ट्रांग दिखा रहा है, तो इसका मतलब कि कुछ अलग चल रहा है मार्केट में। इसको मैं बियर मार्केट इंडेक्स वाइज बिल्कुल नहीं बोलना चाहूंगा। लास्ट टाइम भी जब हम लोगों ने स्पेस किया था तो बियर मार्केट स्टॉक स्पेसिफिक हो सकता है कि कोई स्टॉक ऐसा है जो जरूरत से ज्यादा भाग गया है, 3 गुना 4 गुना 5 गुना कुछ भी हो गया है, वो अपने बियर साइकिल में जाएगा। कोई भी बुल मार्केट ऐसी नहीं रही है जिसमें 100% स्टॉक ने परफॉर्म किया, कोई बुल मार्केट नहीं रही, और कोई बियर मार्केट ऐसी नहीं रही जिसमें सारे स्टॉक कचरा की तरह गिरे हो। कुछ ऐसे स्टॉक्स हैं, अगर कोई जाके देख ले कि 2008 में सन फार्मा में क्या हुआ, आईटीसी में क्या हुआ, तमाम चीजें देख सकते हैं कि थोड़ी सी गिरावट हुई, जर्क लगा, माहौल खराब था, लेकिन वापस सब रिकवर हो गए थे, जबकि मार्केट लोअर लो मार रही थी, और तमाम स्टॉक ऐसे थे जो 3,000-4,000 के स्टॉक थे जो 300 रुपये आ गए थे, लेकिन यही आईटीसी है जो परफॉर्म कर रहा था, यही सन फार्मा है, तमाम एफएमसीजी जो परफॉर्म कर रही थी। तो इंडेक्स वाइज अगर ओवरऑल मार्केट वाइज बोले या लार्ज कैप स्टॉक वाइज बोले तो कहीं से भी मार्केट नहीं दिखती है। हाँ, एक कोरिलेशन मैंने अभी कुछ टाइम पहले शेयर किया था सभी को, आपको स्पेशली, कि यूएस मार्केट का एक साइकिल हमने पिछली बार भी नोटिस किया था कि 2000 से लेकर 2010 तक हमने आउट परफॉर्म किया था 10 साल की साइकिल। ठीक उससे पहले अगर मैंने देखा तो 10 साल की अंडर परफॉर्मेंस साइकिल थी डाउ के अगेंस्ट हमारी निफ्टी की। तो अब उसके बाद से जब से हम देख रहे हैं कि ये मार्केट ने 2020 से क्या किया, 2020 से इंडिया आउट परफॉर्म कर रहा है डाउ जोन को कंटिन्यू, यूएस मार्केट को कंटिन्यू आउट परफॉर्म कर रहा है 2020 के लो से। तो मेरे ख्याल से जिस तरह के हालात हैं, इतनी बिकवाली के बावजूद भी कोई इम्पैक्ट नहीं है करेंसी पे। मैं रुपये की बात नहीं, ये मार्केट की बात नहीं करूंगा, तमाम ऐसे स्टॉक हैं जो 50% 60% गिर चुके हैं और वो असल में डिजर्व करते थे। तो करेंसी से अगर कंपेयर करें तो मुझे नहीं लगता कि कहीं से भी वो हालत है। ये बियर साइकिल कुछ नहीं है, ये सिर्फ एक इंडेक्स वाइज शॉर्ट टर्म करेक्शन है। और हम सच में अगले 10 साल के लिए 2020 से अगर हम काउंट करते हैं तो हम अगले 10 साल तक रियल ग्रोथ जोन में जा सकते हैं। यूएस ने जिस तरीके से अपने यहाँ पे चीजें उन्होंने सपोर्ट किया था मार्केट को, बेतहासा प्रिंटिंग करके, बॉन्ड बाइंग करके, एक अच्छा पीरियड उन्होंने सपोर्ट किया था। उसके बावजूद अब वो जिस सिचुएशन में बैठे हैं, मेरे ख्याल से अब उनको टाइटनिंग करना ही होगा। और एशिया कहीं जरूरत से ज्यादा चीप लेवल पे है। हाँ, कुछ डेटा हैं जैसे अभी यस के सर ने दिया कि वहाँ पे प्रॉपर्टी का ये है, ठीक है। एक्चुअली जब सबसे बुरा हाल होता है तो वहीं से एक नया दिन भी उठता है। तो ऐसा नहीं है, सबसे बुरा हाल अगर दिख रहा है ना, तो वहां पर ये भी सोचना चाहिए कि अब आगे भी बढ़ सकता है। ये ऐसा नहीं है कि गहराई ऐसे ही चलती रहेगी। कई साल से बियर मार्केट वहां चल रही है। अगर आप नोटिस करें तो 2018 से हैंगसेंग ने सिर्फ डाउन साइड दिखाया, 2016 का लो, 2015 का लो वायलेट किया है। तो बहुत गिरावट हो चुकी है, बहुत वैल्यू लेवल पे है। तो जो भी आपके करंट डेटा हैं, जो भी डेटा सेट है, वो अपने बॉटम लेवल पे भी हो सकते हैं। उसको आप ऐसे नहीं समझ सकते कि ये चीजें अभी भी यही अवेलेबल है, क्योंकि मार्केट ने आज तक कभी भी, पिछली जितना भी मैंने देखा है मार्केट, जिस समय डेटा बेस्ट होता है उस समय टॉप लगता है, जिस समय डेटा वास्ट होता है उस समय मार्केट का बॉटम लगता है। 2008 का बॉटम एकदम वास्ट डेटा पे था, और 2007 का जो दिसंबर का इंडिया के हिसाब से 2008 जनवरी का, और अमेरिका के हिसाब से 2007 अगस्त सितंबर का, उस समय उनका बेस्ट था डेटा जब उनका टॉप लगा था। और जब भी बॉटम लगा वो वास्ट था। तो डेटा समय समय से चेंज होता है। हमें ये भी समझना चाहिए कि डेटा का वास क्या हो सकता है। ऐसा नहीं है कि जो डेटा है बस आप उसको पकड़ के बैठे रहिए। 2000 ये अभी जिस तरह से इन्फ्लेशन कूलिंग हुआ, जिस तरह से स्पाइक लगा है, अगर यही इन्फ्लेशन मेंटेन रहता तो हम लोग कह सकते थे कि ये प्रॉब्लम हो सकता है, प्रॉब्लम लंबी हो सकती है। लेकिन जिस तरीके से पैनिक स्पाइक आया और फिर रिकवर, अभी भी कुछ फंडामेंटल लेवल पे न्यूज को लेके, वार को लेके कोई ऐसा बड़ा चेंजेस हुआ नहीं है। तो जिस तरीके से चीजें संभली हैं, कोई 40%, कोई 30%, कोई 50% करेक्शन हुआ है, तो क्लियरली दिख रहा है कि मार्केट काफी दूर तक सोच रही है। वो 6 महीना आगे, वो एक क्वार्टर के हम सोचते हैं, वो 6 महीना आगे, साल भर का आगे का सोच रही है। तो डेफिनेटली इस बार हम सिर्फ इंडिया ही नहीं, हम पूरा एशिया लीड करेंगे। करेंसी को लेके कुछ तो बहुत बड़ा चेंजेस हुआ है इस बार, क्योंकि अगर दुगनी कमोडिटी के प्राइस पे हमारा यूएसडी आईएनआर 90-100 नहीं गया, तो इसका मतलब कि हमको हमारी जो बाइंग हो रही है वो डॉलर में नहीं हो रही है। हमें कुछ तो जो रशिया से ऑफर मिला था उस तरह का हमको हर जगह से ऑफर मिल रहे हैं। वो डेटा ठीक से डिस्प्ले नहीं किया जा रहा है, ठीक से प्रेजेंट नहीं किया जा रहा है, बट इसका मतलब यही है कि हमारी जो बाइंग हो रही है वो डॉलर में नहीं हो रही है। हमको अब हर तरह से मिला। और हमारा जो बहुत बड़ा पैनिक था कि डॉलर एक ही तरफा सिर्फ डॉलर करेंसी के पीछे जाने का मतलब ये होता था कि हमारी इम्पोर्ट बेस्ड इकोनॉमी है, एक्सपोर्ट बेस है नहीं, तो हमारे लिए वो बहुत बड़ा पैनिक हो जाता था। तो ये पैनिक, ये बहुत बड़ा फंडामेंटल चेंज दिखता है। मेरी बिना से इसके बारे में बहुत डिटेल में बात हुई थी। तो जिस तरह से अलग अलग जगहों से हमें ऑफर मिल रहे हैं हमारी कंट्री को, जो बहुत ही छोटे से शॉर्ट नोट में न्यूज़ें मिलती हैं, जो जिसका ढोल नहीं बजता, वो वहां से यही चीजें समझ में आ रही हैं कि अब हम अलग अलग करेंसीज में खुल के माल परचेज करने वाले हैं। और अब हमको जो पैनिक होता था सिंगल करेंसी का, जो लोड होता था सबसे मेजर डॉलर का, वो हमारा खत्म होने जा रहा है। तो मेरे ख्याल से बहुत बड़ा फंडामेंटल चेंज है, बहुत ही मेजर फंडामेंटल चेंज है। और निफ्टी का पी भी उस हिसाब से है, हालांकि डाउ का भी पी है, बट हो सकता है कि अगर डॉलर के ऊपर इतना प्रेशर है और इतना बड़ा कंज्यूमर, इंडिया एक कंज्यूमर है, अगर वो डॉलर को अप्रिशिएट नहीं कर रहा है, वो अदर करेंसी में स्विच कर रहा है, तो इसका इम्पैक्ट शायद यूएस पे भी बहुत बड़ा पड़ेगा। क्योंकि उनका डॉलर जिस तरीके से अब इग्नोर हो रहा है, अलग अलग जो भी ये यूक्रेन और रशिया का जो वार हुआ, इससे जिस तरीके का डिस्प्यूट क्रिएट हुआ, जिस तरीके से चीजें सेपरेट हुई हैं, तो मेरे ख्याल से इसका हो सकता है कि डाउ पे इम्पैक्ट पड़े और डाउ उतना परफॉर्म न करे जितना अदर कंट्री या एशियन कंट्री या इंडिया बेतहासा बूम, एक बूम मार्केट में कंटिन्यू रहे। तो आई थिंक करेंसी का कोरिलेशन और जो पुराना डाउ से कोरिलेशन था, वो ठीक से समझ में आ गया होगा। मुझे लगता नहीं कि इससे ज़्यादा कोई पॉइंट रखने की ज़रूरत है, जैसा आप सैनिक सर बोले।
Yeah, thanks, Vipin. As usual, you are always to the point, and I'm sure a lot of us got a lot of information from what you spoke. Thank you once again for having come here despite you not being well, and certainly look forward to your contribution in spaces. Maybe we'll do the spaces after a month or so, because there is nothing new to add, I suspect, unless there is some catastrophe which hits us. I think you and me both agree that we are probably the beginning, on the cusp of a good bullish phase. We don't know where it will take. You have, of course, your targets. My target is only one thing, that it is certainly the bad days are almost certainly over, and Achhe Din in that real sense should come. And once again, thanks, Vinay, for being a wonderful co-host and moderating it. It's a pity that the spaces crashed, and some of us, some of the people could not participate or couldn't ask the questions. And we had thought that we'll finish by 10:30. We already extended it by 11. And okay, anyway, we'll finish it. Thanks one and all for having given for the questions, as well as the suggestions, plus the what shall I say, counterpoint, which is more important than just agreeing on all the points which I or Vipin make. That is where the learning happens, where a counterpoint is there. Only time will tell. We are all anyway having our own opinions based on that same data which we see, and hopefully, all of us benefit from whatever viewpoint which we have. Another disclaimer, since none of us are SEBI registered advisors, if we have spoken on any particular script, that is not an advisory. So kindly take this as just a general discussion. Kindly consult your financial advisor before you actually go ahead and investing. That's it from my side. Vinay, if you got anything to add, or you can close it. Yeah, thanks once again.
Thank you, sir. But sir, we'll close the space. Thank you, everyone. You may leave now. Thank you.